Hey folks, I want to show you two more quick things with Max and motion detection that I think might be helpful to you. So one of the things you might notice from our motion detection patch is that it's quite noisy, and that like if we not moving much as a fan here, but there's numbers jumping all over the place. So one of the things we can do to deal with noise is use a slide object. And this is basically a running average. So I give it a number of frames before and after. Frames are really values to sort of blend together. And that will help smooth out the data a little bit. So you can see it's still going up and down and changing, but it's not jumping around as crazily as that one. This can be good and bad. You can smooth out your data too much, so you lose like fast things like snaps if you're doing audio. So depending on your application, you'll want more or less smoothing in the data. Another thing I can do, I can use a slider to help me visualize this data. Can be helpful from the motion, just as like a debugging tool. I'm not getting anything right now because that value is so low, but this is again somewhere where I can go into the inspector. If I can get this scaled right, and adjust the values of my slider. So it currently has a range of 128. If I make the range like 1, and make my minimum like 0.01, and do float output. So now we'll see on that slider the value sort of represent quantity, almost like a bar graph moving up and down. And you can really see that slide affecting it now, like how it slowly falls back. Whereas if I bring this before slide, you'll see it jumping around much more. All right, so the last thing is presentation mode, something I've not talked about yet. Might be helpful to you in laying out your patches. This gives you a way to present to a user an interface or a layout that's much more user-friendly, right? So instead of having these patches all over the place, you can just show the pertinent information. So for instance, for this patch, the things that might be important to me are this preview window, this slider, holding down Shift to select multiple things, the open and close buttons, and this toggle. And so I've got those selected. I'm going to click or right-click on them and say Add to Presentation. And you'll see now they have this faint pink border, which means they're in the presentation. Down here at the bottom, I can click this icon that looks a bit like a projector screen, and that will take me into presentation mode. And in presentation mode, I can only see the things that are in the presentation. I can rearrange these objects, so I might set them up and even change their size into a UI or kind of window display that I like. That's nice. And when I save my patch, that information is saved with the presentation mode. If I go back though, you'll see this changed its size back. Everything went back to its location in the edit mode. So objects have two positions. They've got your edit window mode and their presentation mode positions and sizes. But for something like motion detection, the threshold, all these values, the JIT grab, might not be necessary for a user of my application to see or interact with, so I can hide those things using presentation mode.